Looking for excitement? Chumba Casino is here. Play anytime, play anywhere. Play on the train, play at the store, play at home, play when you're bored. Play today for your chance to win and get daily bonuses when you log in. So what are you waiting for? Don't delay. Chumba Casino is free to play.
Experience social gameplay like never before. Go to Chumba Casino right now to play hundreds of games, including online slots, bingo, Slingo, and more. Live the Chumba life at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Number 2, Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Half the work week in the rearview mirror, officially working towards the weekend, and fired up. You're hanging out with us on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. 15 minutes from right now, my projected lineup for LSU on opening day. I'll tell you how I think it looks out in the outfield. I'll tell you how I think it looks in the infield, behind the plate, and in the batting order. I'll give you all of that coming up in 15 minutes. Plus, what are the Saints going to do with Taysom Hill? We'll talk about that coming up. Look, I know one of the things that y'all like the most about this show is when I complain. That's one of everyone's favorite things. They love to hear whiny, complainy hosts. That's key to any radio show, to be quite frank. And so you're going to hear about right now. I've been a little upset at the vending machine situation in this building for about a month and a half. Not only
You're not the only one, huh?
Not only have the drinks not been cold, they've been actually like very hot. The vending machine has like warmed them up to the point that they're hot. And that has been rectified in some way, but I just went down and got one in the top of the hour break. It's frozen solid. We can't hit a medium here. We've got boiling Coke Zero and we got frozen Coke Zero. I would just like a chilled or even room temperature Coke Zero that I could then pour over ice. Is that too much to ask?
It's not. I do wonder, though. I've never heard of a vending machine being hot. Like, how does that work? It's not like it's...
Well, it's got to like work, and obviously the equipment's all hot. I don't know what's going on.
It's not like it's 90 degrees down there, and it's just hot because the cold isn't working. It's clearly has the ability to make drinks hot too, which I don't understand.
Look, I'm not an expert in vending machine anatomy. I'm an expert in complaining, and I'm an expert in Coke Zero.
That you are.
So this is unacceptable, and I need the folks here, the Guarantee folks. They were in my good graces because of them sending us to the Super Bowl last week, which was great. And now we got a vending machine that's just not getting the job done.
Yeah, and that's
unacceptable.
It needs to be rectified.
Speaking of incredible radio guys, here's a segue. Think of things that are not working and are not acceptable. LSU basketball. Not working, not acceptable at this point. So let's talk about it. Matthew Brune from the Bengal Tiger, part of the On3 team, good enough to give us a little bit of time. And he was on the line for all that complaining. So I apologize for that, Matthew, but sometimes some things have to be said.
I feel like I just entered the room of like an arguing couple of Musso and Palmer, just going back and forth about the vending machine.
Well, here we are. It's just disappointing, but it is what it is, and LSU basketball disappointing as well. What do you think the toughest loss was? Getting annihilated by Texas by 31, or the disaster that we saw back on Saturday?
Yeah, I wrote about it after the game. Obviously, the beatdown from Texas is the worst loss, like just in a vacuum. But I think the Ole Miss loss was really the first time people were taken aback, I guess, by that kind of collapse, like that singular moment to be like, oh, this is why I'm upset. This is a moment that can't happen and that is unacceptable and that, heads need to roll and so on and so forth. So the worst loss is Texas. I mean, a 31-point loss at home is unacceptable. But then to lead by 11 with 3 minutes left and to have it just all crumble down, that felt like the moment. Like if you had to point to one moment of people's frustration, that's what it was.
Did you sense a different Cam Carter in the postgame than you have, generally speaking?
I think so. I think, now that you mentioned it, it's fair to question because in that moment I'm just kind of writing and thinking about, what to ask. But now that you do mention it, it is interesting. Cam was kind of like, damn, this is rock bottom. Like, that's what it felt like from him. This is, he came back home. I mean, he's from right down the road, Donaldsonville, and wanted to put on for his city and for his state. And this loss, I think, really sapped a lot of the hope and a lot of the optimism from him, from the fans, from the team. And because I think, we were there even for losses throughout the season. It's like, okay, it's cool. We go around and fist bump, and it's like, all right, we move on. But this one just felt like a real dagger.
They beat Arkansas previously. LSU's playing differently, and Arkansas is playing a lot differently. Is anything that we saw back in that January game applicable to tonight's game?
I think so. I mean, from a technical standpoint, I think LSU's defense is still going to have the chance to bother Arkansas. I think you look at Arkansas's performances and their wins. Kentucky's been the worst team in the conference defensively. They scored 89 on them. Texas has not lived up defensively to where I thought they'd be. They scored 78 on them. So I think, the hope for LSU here on the road against a team you've already beat is that the defense travels and that you're able to hold them down into the mid-60s, because as we know, this LSU team is not capable of, comfortably scoring in the 70s in any game here. So it's going to have to be an ugly one. It's going to have to, be their experience and try to build back up what they lost in the last game.
The Arkansas team that came to the PMAC relied heavily on Boogie Fland, who's out for the year, and Zvonimir Ivicic, which we'll just go with Big Z for the rest of this conversation, was not really a factor at that point. He played 6 minutes in that game. He was huge in the game against Alabama back over the weekend. How much difference is this Arkansas team than we saw in January?
Yeah, you mentioned Big Z as one factor. I mean, John L. Davis is another one. The past 4 games, put up 18, 18, 24, and 13, transfer from FAU. I think it was the number 3 transfer in the country. Again, we knew this Arkansas team had talent. So with Fland being out, John L. Davis has stepped up in a big way there. They still have plenty of talent. DJ Wagner, Davis, they've been playing Billy Richmond a little bit more, the freshman. And so it's never a talent thing with Coach Cal, and I think that they're starting to figure out how to piece it together a little bit. So I definitely think this is a tougher challenge now than what LSU had a few weeks ago.
All right, let's talk a little bit more big picture. Where are we with this team, with this season, and with what needs to happen over the next few months? Yeah,
so this team, obviously, you hope just to get a couple more wins out of this. I labeled this 6-game stretch as being the real heart of the season. They're 0-3 in that stretch: Texas, Georgia, and Ole Miss. They have Arkansas, Oklahoma, and South Carolina the next 3 games. Ideally, you win 2 of them. We'll see if that happens. But regardless, the difference between going 3-15 in conference or going 2-16 is negligible at best. So then you look ahead and, you do acknowledge the fact that this team played a lot of young guys, right? I mean, from the 3 freshmen to Corey Chest, Mike Williams, and so on. There's a lot of youth here. And I think the first thing for Matt McMahon is figuring out who he wants to return and who wants to return. You hope Victorious Miller comes back. You hope Jalen Reed, off an injury, comes back. Corey Chest, you assume, Louisiana guy, but, you got to make sure that happens. So you want to retain some young talent, but then it just turns to the portal. And I think my biggest criticism of Matt McMahon is his misses in the portal in his 3 years. I think this year I like Jordan Sears. I don't think he's a starting point guard. I think he's a bench player in the SEC. Jai Bailey, I think ideally he was supposed to be a bench, rotation player, but then Tyrell Ward leaves and he has to start. So I think the portal is just going to be so important. And I think LSU having the funds to be aggressive in the portal, kind of like we saw in football, obviously on a lower scale, is extremely important.
We saw the football program bang the drum and go, we have to have money and we have to go get portal players. And it was a shift from how they felt months previous to that. Is there a similar shift coming with basketball where Matt McMahon understands that the way that he did things this year is not going to be good enough and you're going to have to change the approach?
Yeah, I actually think that I kind of wish that they didn't get 3 signees in this class, and I know that's retrospect and everything. I kind of just want them to go as old as possible and just kind of go all in next year on being competitive, because at this point, I think the concept is proven. I think Curtis Givens and Victorious Miller and Robert Miller are going to be good players in their careers, but they're freshmen and they're going up, against these 22, 23. Heck, Auburn has 25-year-olds out there. It's just not a fair fight. So I think you have to get significantly older this year. It took Brian Kelly getting to the podium and, like you said, banging the drum and saying we need more money and we'll do whatever it takes to get there. And that's football.
Hey, it's Ryan Seacrest. Life comes at you fast, which is why it's important to find some time to relax. A little you time. Enter Chumba Casino. With no download required, you can jump on anytime, anywhere for the chance to redeem some serious prizes. So treat yourself with Chumba Casino and play over 100 online casino-style games, all for free. Go to ChumbaCasino.com to collect your free welcome bonus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Yeah.
And now men's basketball is in a similar situation here, and I think they're starting in an even worse position, obviously, than where football was, just in comparison to the rest of the conference. So I do think that's critical. I think McMahon's going to have to really, really start pushing as soon as the season ends, if not before that, and see where it goes.
Well, by the time we talk next week, it'll be late February. It may be time to start really analyzing where the women sit in the pecking order of the national scale and what they've got to do to put a run together in March. So we'll talk next week either way. Thanks, Matthew.
Yeah, thanks, Hunt.
Matthew Brune, part of the Bengal Tiger team over there on 3, does an awesome job with the team coverage from basketball perspective as well as football. They got coverage of football recruiting, as like I mentioned at the end of the last segment as well. So great resource over there at the Bengal Tiger. And appreciate Matthew for giving us a little bit of time. LSU and Arkansas tonight, 8 o'clock tip from Bud Walton. I'll have a post-game story up at LouisianaSports.net. I got a pre-game story up at LouisianaSports.net. What I also have at LouisianaSports.net is the announcement of LSU's starting pitching rotation for this week. If you missed it, that is on Friday, Cade Anderson. On Saturday, Anthony Ianson. And on Sunday, Chase Shores. We know that. We don't know what LSU's opening day lineup is going to look like. 1, I'm going to give you my thoughts on that in the next segment. And 2, I'm going to go over some of my favorite opening day lineup features that you may have forgotten about that are humorous in my eye and that we want to talk about and realize that what you see in weekend number 1 doesn't exactly mean what you're going to see when June rolls around. So we'll do all that coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is that website. Look, I know that insurance is not a ton of fun to talk about. I tell you that every single day because I know it. I lived it for 7 years, but I also saw it save businesses. I know how important it can be. Now, you hope that you're never in that position, but the point of insurance is when that position shows up, you're covered. Your policy is placed with the right market, and you've got the right claims handling team working on your behalf to make sure that you're made whole and you can continue operating. If you're a business owner, you should spend more time worrying about your business than you should the insurance part of it. And that's why you got to trust your insurance broker to make sure everything is on the up and up. And the Highland Insurance Group will do that for you. Jonathan Carbo and his team are experts, and they make sure that you're put in the right position so that when that car accident or that lawsuit happens, when that hurricane rolls through or that fire happens in the kitchen, that you're covered and you're taken care of. And you can continue to operate while the insurance side does what it's supposed to do. Contact them at HighlandIG.com and start that process today. To audit that policy doesn't cost a thing. They may find something that could save your business. It's the Highland Insurance Group. You can find them online at HighlandIG.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
As you're all well aware, LSU baseball will crank things up 2025 style on Friday right now at 2 o'clock. Jay Johnson was on with the guys in the morning and said, look, I'm not 100% sure what the weather says. Usually our grounds crew will come see me midweek if there needs to be some sort of discussion. So maybe there were some discussions today, but no announcement has been made about a game time shift. I think more of the concern is on Saturday. Looks like they got a pretty day on Sunday if they want to handle it then. So we'll see what LSU decides to do. But right now on schedule for a 2 o'clock Friday first pitch, we will be out there on site in Championship Plaza from noon to 2 for the Hunt Palmer Show leading up to first pitch. So really, really excited about Friday to get out there. And I want to give you my thoughts on what the lineup might be. But before I do that, let's be very clear. The opening day lineup often shifts pretty significantly as the season goes on. I know we all hit the same talking points over the course of the 5 weeks entering the season. I know there's more access to information than ever with scrimmage reports, and you've got the TrackMan velocities that everyone can see from the LSU Twitter feed. And there was a time where Skip could conduct practice in January and nobody knew what happened, and you just kind of had to wait till the season started. Now, we've got a lot of information. Everybody's kind of on the same page as what this is going to look like. But let me just cite some examples here of some opening day and first weekend lineups that may be surprising to you. And I know that y'all can't recall every lineup by every year. What was opening day? What was the opening day 2014 lineup supposed to look like? Well, that was 11 years ago. I'm not expecting you to know that. So I'll help you all through this exercise a little bit. But I think the point will remain at home. My famous one ever is in 2009, Chad Jones was the opening night DH. Y'all have heard me say that one a bunch of times. I think it's hilarious. He left the team to go to spring football. He came back, dreadlocks of doom. He's pitching out of the bullpen. Like, he was the opening night DH. Didn't hit at all throughout the rest of the season. But of course, that night you did not have Mikey Matuk nor Austin Nola in the lineup. Y'all know those stories as well, but Nola got the biggest hit of the regional to win the Saturday game against Baylor, and then Matuk became a star and was running down balls in the outfield and got the hit to win game 1 of the championship series. And they were freshmen, and they were nowhere to be seen on opening night. That's the kind of thing that happens all the time. I'll move you forward to 2017. That's the team that got to the national final against Florida and lost. That team had Michael Papierski. It had Jake Slaughter and Cole Freeman and Kramer Robertson. You had Greg Dykman, and you had that team that made a run to the championship series. And you look at that team on opening night, and you had Bryce Adams at DH. Bryce Adams. I'm betting most of y'all that are listening to this have never heard of Bryce Adams or forgot that you had heard of Bryce Adams. That's a guy who finished the year 5 of 21 for the season at the plate. He was big, strong kid, and thought there was some power in that bat, but he lost his job to Bo Jordan, who became the starting DH for LSU for much of the year. And you had Duplantis on that team and Zach Watson. Josh Smith was on that team. So Bryce Adams was the opening night DH, and you didn't really hear from him the rest of the season. But there are more that come to mind. 2023, y'all know that team pretty well. I'll tell you a few nuggets from that team starting lineup. Ben DePault started the opening game at second base for that national championship team. Ben DePault. Paxton Kling was the leadoff hitter for that team. He became a reserve center fielder. He hit leadoff on opening day. Gavin Dugas, not in the lineup. Caden Beloso, not in the lineup. Braden Jobert, not in the lineup. Think of the role those guys played over the course of the season. I mean, I just rattled off like 5 big deals from a team that brought back a ton of proven guys. Like Trey Morgan was going to play. Dylan Cruz was going to play. Jordan Thompson was going to play. You were going to see Tommy White at third base. Like, there were some guys that were never going to move that we knew. And we still had 5 massive deals with that team. Let's go to 2022. This is actually Jay Johnson's first team. Do you recall who the opening day starter at pitcher was for his first team? A lot of you probably do, but I'm going to say this name, and a bunch of you are probably going to go, oh, I forgot. Jay Johnson's opening night, Friday night starter was Blake Money. Blake Money. The second baseman in that game, Will Safford on his first team. Will Safford. Like, things changed pretty quickly. You remember the 2023 national championship team, to jump back to that team, who was in the starting rotation. I'm not even talking about the lineup, the rotation. Skeens pitched on Friday, but Riley Cooper pitched on Saturday, and Chase Shores pitched on Sunday. Ty Floyd was nowhere to be seen. He was in the bullpen. Like last year, Josh Pearson was the opening day second baseman last year. Stephen Milam was not in there. Do you recall who the Sunday starter was last year? You started Thatcher Hurd in the opener, the opening day starter, and that was not stunning. He was a savior in Omaha and had the pedigree, and you thought he'd be a dude, and he pitched in game one, and Luke Holman was your Saturday starter, and he ended up moving up to the front of that. Javen Coleman was the Sunday starter last year on Sunday. You see how drastically things change? So we're talking about a team right now, and the group that we're talking about is going to shift a ton over the course of 4 months. And that is the fun part of baseball season. I love it. You push this button here. This guy shows some good stuff out of the bullpen. Maybe he can start in the midweek. You can stretch him out, and maybe he can go into the back end of the bullpen. Well, now this guy may need to move positions because defensively things aren't working out, and things just change a lot over the course of a 4-month baseball season, and I love that. So with the understanding that it won't finish like this, here's how I think things start on Friday. This is my guess. Let's go around the horn with the guys that you know will be in the lineup we feel like, because that's who's been out there for the better part of a week and a half in scrimmages. At catcher, Luis Hernandez, I'm confident is going to be your starter. Wouldn't be stunned if it was Blaze Priester or if it was Cade Arambidi, but I'm 95% confident Luis Hernandez is going to be the starting catcher. Then you go to first base, and Jared Jones is going to be there, of course. You go to second base, Daniel Dickinson is going to be there, of course. Jay Johnson yesterday announced on Mike Scarborough's podcast that Stephen Milam will play short and Michael Braswell will play third. You go to left field, Derek Curiel is going to be in left, Chris Stanfield is going to be in center, Jake Brown is going to be in right, and we don't know who the DH is going to be. My guess is Josh Pearson. I don't know one single thing about the Purdue Fort Wayne pitching staff. I don't know if they've got 3 left-handed starters that are coming at you, and then maybe you throw Ethan Fry in there. I don't know. This has nothing to do with Purdue Fort Wayne. I can't name one player who's ever played baseball for Purdue Fort Wayne. Not one.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
But I'm going to go with Josh Pearson as the starter, independent of anything Purdue Fort Wayne does at DH. So here's how I think the lineup shakes out, and I'll give you a little bit of my reasoning why. I've got Chris Stanfield in the leadoff spot. That's probably not what I would do, but we've seen it in the scrimmages. So I'm going to lean on that for the moment. Stanfield did a good job hitting an SEC play. Certainly won't be overmatched by Purdue Fort Wayne as a guy who's been in the SEC for 3 years. So I think that Chris Stanfield is going to be the leadoff guy because that's what we've seen in the scrimmages. Then I feel okay about the next chunk here. Milam in the 2-hole, Jones in the 3-hole, Brown in the 4-hole. I'm a little apprehensive about Brown in the 4-hole right now. I love the potential, but it's just that right now. And we know how vital hitting behind Jones is. I love Milam in front of Jones. I love the fact that Stanfield is right-handed. Milam can hit left-handed against right-handed pitching. Then Jones is right-handed and Brown is left-handed. I think at the top of the order, having that left-right is a good thing. Brown, I think, gets the first shot to protect Jared Jones. We'll see how long that lasts because you're going to have somebody back there that's hot. And the spot behind Jones may just be the guy that really swung it well the last 2 games because it's important that there's a little bit of fear in the opposing dugout when the guy opposite Jones, behind Jones, is in the on deck. So there's got to be a little bit. And Brown gives a little bit of that in theory, but I haven't seen it. So that's Stanfield, Milam, Jones, Brown, 1 through 4. Then I've got Daniel Dickinson in the 5 spot. He has not swung the bat awesome in the fall or the preseason. He did have a home run over the weekend, and we know that the talent is there. Wouldn't shock me if he was down in the 8 or 9 hole, but I think that against this level of competition that LSU is going to see for the first 2 weeks of the season with Purdue Fort Wayne, with midweek game, and with Omaha, like with that level of competition, Dickinson has essentially proven in his years at Utah Valley he can handle this. So getting him off to a good start, putting him in the middle of all that, there's a good chance guys are on base. If he hits right there with Milam, Jones, and Brown right there in front of him, maybe that gives him an opportunity to drive in some runs, get some confidence. I like Daniel Dickinson in the 5-hole, plus Brown in the 4 holes left-handed. Dickinson in the 5-hole is right-handed. I can't drop Derek Curiel any lower. If he hits first or second, I won't be surprised at all. The staff thinks this kid is going to be a star. I think most of the folks who cover this team think he's going to be a star. I'm not dropping him down to the 8 or 9 spot. He's ready to hit. I've got him in the 6 hole here, right behind Daniel Dickinson, right behind Curiel. I've got Luis Hernandez. I feel confident Hernandez is going to hit 7 or 8 in the lineup. That seems to be the prevailing thought from inside the program. So I think Hernandez is going to hit 7th or 8th. I've got him 7th here. Then I've got Braswell. I'm doubling up on right-handed bats there. I've got Braswell hitting in the 8 hole at third base. And I've got Pearson in the 9 hole. I put Pearson in the 9 hole because he's left-handed in front of Stanfield is right-handed, and he runs better. I don't know that I want to put Braswell and Hernandez right in front of Stanfield and Milam. I'd rather a little bit of a buffer there with some speed, getting on base for the guys who Stanfield, Milam, Jones are going to be your run producers. So I don't necessarily want one of my slower guys, and neither Hernandez nor Braswell runs great. So 1, 2, 3, Stanfield, Milam, Jones. 4, 5, 6, Brown, Dickinson, Curiel. 7, 8, 9, Hernandez, Braswell, Pearson. That's where I am for this LSU offensive lineup. I'm looking at the Bayou Ford chat here. Don't see any massive disagreements. Where is Pierce? Pearson, I think is where he's going there. Got Pearson in the 9 hole there is where I've got him. So Beck, do you have any massive qualms with the lineup that I have laid out here?
No, I don't think so. But it will be interesting. As you've noted, it'll be interesting to see how this lineup evolves, because I'm sure it will, especially when you get into conference play, and some of the younger guys are going to be getting phased out in terms of getting at bats. So interesting to see how it evolves over the season.
I think there's a good chance that I've put that lineup out there that Cade Arambidi, Tanner Reeves, and Ashton Larson all start at least one game this weekend.
Yeah.
That doesn't guarantee that start is in the field. They could be at DH, but I think Arambidi will probably catch a game. I think Reeves will probably play third base in a game if you've got a right-handed pitcher that starts, and Braswell may go to the bench, and you can get Reeves a couple of at-bats maybe on Sunday. It's something we see often. And Jay Johnson likes to say it's a 56-game playoff, and he's only going to do things that he wants to win the game that day. I appreciate that sentiment, and I do believe that he was the first team left out of the tournament one year, and so he thinks any loss could hurt. And last year, you could argue that LSU, it was one SEC game from being left out of the tournament. I don't think that's true, because I think they went on that run in Hoover, and their RPI moved up, and you all of a sudden became a 2 seed. So I don't think that's true, but you could argue that it was close. I still think that there is a degree of let's get some guys that have bats, and that doesn't immediately mean how do we win the game. Now, once you get in the game, yes, you're trying to win it, but I think that they're going to try to get some guys with bats. So I think Arambidi, Reeves, and Larson are guys that will be out there at some point of the weekend. Hopefully you get some garbage time and you can get guys some stress-free at bats. But that's the way I've got LSU shaking out coming up on Friday. We'll see how it goes, and we'll grade it coming up during Friday's show. Let's take a time out. Come back. Saints talk next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Fighting off a sneeze here. We'll see if we can get through the live read. One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. You know how you feel about your car, where there comes to be a certain point where instead of paying to fix it and paying to fix it and paying to fix it, you just need a new one? That's the case in the bathroom as well. Like, there may be some fiberglass that's just beyond repair. There may be a leak that's causing significant damage where you just need to put new plumbing in. You don't need to just trust some dude you found off of Craigslist that can come in and find a way to fix the toilet. Get our One Bath and Closets to come in with their master certified plumber who's licensed, bonded, and insured to get the job done. That's what you need to get done. And One Bath and Closets is happy to help with that. So go to OneBathAndClosets.com and start that process with a free consultation today. Bathrooms, closets, all customized to your specifications. David Duvall and his team are happy to do it. It's One Bath and Closets. Check them out online, OneBathAndClosets.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Join Hunt Palmer live from the box as we celebrate opening day for LSU baseball. Come out, watch a special edition of the Hunt Palmer Show from noon to 2 inside Fan Fest presented by Powerade as the Tigers prepare to open the 2025 season against Purdue Fort Wayne. It's opening day at the box with 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, let's talk a little bit of Saints here. Kellen Moore is going to meet with the media tomorrow at 1:30, so there'll be some great quotes coming out on that. And then I would imagine he'll be pretty quick to the road to get some staff members put into place, get this train leaving the station. But part of this is now looking at the current roster and determining how you want to operate this thing in the short term. And some of those decisions may have some sentimental impact on Saints fans. And some of them will be Saints decisions and some of them will be player decisions. But one of them is going to come from Taysom Hill. And Taysom Hill, one, got to the NFL very quote-unquote late, because when you go on your mission, you play at BYU, you get into the league into your mid to late 20s, unlike a lot of folks that show up in the league at 21, 22. So while Taysom Hill hasn't been around for as long as some folks at that point, you're talking about a guy who's now climbing into his mid-30s. And the question is, does he want to rehab from this ACL, which he suffered late in the season, and you'd have to come back probably mid-season for a team that doesn't have phenomenal prospects on next season, and go put your body through that again? And like, Taysom Hill can only play one way. Taysom Hill can only play as a battering ram who's physical and seeks out contact and is a guy that blocks at the end of the line of scrimmage and takes hits in the running game. And like, he's only got one gear, and we've seen it, and it's been an awesome gear for New Orleans. But what do you do with Taysom Hill? And the question is, does he want to play? If not, your decision is made for you, because you just put him on the veteran minimum and facilitate that retirement like you did with Ryan Ramczyk. If he does want to play, you've got to determine what you want to do. And the Saints can get $10 million in relief in 2025 if you release Taysom Hill and move on. The dead cap hit would be about $8 million for this year, and then in 2026, about $9.5 million, which sounds awful, but every team's carrying some dead money, and the Saints are going to enter a spot here where there's going to be some dead money attached to what they're doing with some of these aging players on the roster. But in my estimation, without the sentimental attachment that a lot of Saints fans have to Taysom Hill for great reason, I don't think Taysom Hill is going to be on the next good Saints team. I don't think he's got a role on the next good Saints team, because I don't think he's going to play much this year. I don't think the Saints are going to be very good this coming year, and I don't see him having a big role on a 2026 team with his current age. I mean, you're talking about a guy who he's 34, and you're talking about a guy at 36 playing that style of football. I just don't see it. I mean, am I crazy? I just don't see it. So to me, while it's unpleasant, part of this has got to be unpleasant. And you're looking at guys like Taysom Hill.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Like Ryan Ramczyk, like Cam Jordan, like Tyrann Mathieu, eventually Alvin Kamara, that you're going to look at and see, like, how do we want to handle this money? You've made your decision with Kamara, and Tyrann says he wants to play 2 more years, and we'll see. But Ramczyk's made that decision for you. DeMario hasn't slowed down just yet. So I'm thinking at this point, when I look at these aging Saints, the only one that I'm looking at going, okay, this may be a separation point, if you're not including Derek Carr, who is 33, but is not really, there's not much sentimental there. There's a lot of sentimental value in all the rest of those guys. I think it's time to move on from Taysom Hill. And this is coming from a guy that said don't pay Kamara and don't extend him. And it's coming out of that same mouth. But I'm doing it because I think that you've got to start this process and start to free up a little bit of money and start to see if you can't take some chances on some younger players that are cheaper. And Taysom Hill is old and expensive and hurt. So that's 3 strikes. And then when you add that to where the state of the roster is right now, it just doesn't fit. This isn't a fit. You love Taysom Hill. You got the jerseys. You love the effort. You love the tenacity. You love the teammate. You love the investment that he's made in the city and in being a Saint, the roles he's taken on, whether it's been starting quarterback in Breeze's stead as an injury, whether it's been tight end, whether it's been punt protector, like whatever, he's just done it. And I love that, and Saints fans love that. But the time for trying to hold on to all that is gone. And I'm going to play this parallel that very few of you will understand initially, but I'm hopeful that it gets the message across. Like, I was emotional when the Cubs moved on from the core that won them a World Series. When they traded Anthony Rizzo and traded Chris Bryant and traded Javi Baez and let John Lester walk and let Wilson Contreras walk and all these guys that meant so much to the greatest run in the history of the organization, it was painful for me as someone who invested emotionally in that team. But those guys failed elsewhere with massive contracts. And the Cubs got out from under it, and they got younger, and they got cheaper, and they got one of the best farm systems in baseball, and they were able to go out and spend some money on Dansby Swanson and spend some money on Seiya Suzuki. And y'all may not even know who those 2 players are. But the point is, there's a part of you as a fan that hates to see guys that you have invested so many hours and so much emotion with, see them move on. But ultimately, it can be the right thing. And there's no guarantee that the Saints are going to take these savings and reallocate them into the draft and into free agency and hit and immediately get back to the top of the division. The Cubs have not even played in a playoff game since they did all that. Now, they're over a 70% chance to win the division this year, but there's no guarantee that it works, and it sucks in the moment. But that's the part of this that the Saints have to start with now, because there was the optimism of, let's get the new coach. And that optimism was invested into the search. Well, the search is over. And now the work begins. And the work is cleaning up the current roster and pumping it with new young talent. And I think one of the decisions that has to be made, whether it's Taysom making it or the Saints, is with Taysom Hill. And with his injury situation and his cap number and some savings that you can create this year, and maybe what that'll allow you to do with some extra cash or just to get under the salary cap, for crying out loud, I'm good with it. And so I think that's a tough thing to swallow for Saints fans, but that's part of what this process is going to look like over the next 5 months and then over the next 15 months when you go through this next season, go through another draft, another free agent cycle, and some of those other guys that I had listed start to come off the books slowly but surely. We'll see what the Saints decide to do with Taysom Hill. If you're looking for Saints coverage, you can check us out at Hunt on Saints, wherever you find your podcast, and, of course, LouisianaSports.net. Ross Jackson will have a chair at Kellen Moore's introductory press conference tomorrow, and he will certainly be writing about it over at LouisianaSports.net. We'll be talking about it on tomorrow's edition of The Hunt Palmer Show. Speaking of that, let's close it out coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com is the website. Every car that is on the lot is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. Every single vehicle in the line, from the entry level all the way up to the highest end model, has got the same safety features. You're talking about an IIHA Safety Award Plus models and Safety Award models. Every single vehicle, all of them. They don't skimp on safety at Genesis. And then when you get behind the wheel, you understand how comfortable, how stylish, all the bells and whistles. Their fantastic group over there at Genesis of Baton Rouge is happy to help you with your purchasing process, whether that's remote and you do it online, and you do your test drive from home or the office, and then you do a digital delivery in your e-contracts, or you stop by Airline and Piku and do your shopping right there on site. They're pretty new. You may not have heard of them. You may not have seen the dealership. Go on by and see them. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge, and they're online at genesisofbatonrouge.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
ESPN Baton Rouge is your home for the New Orleans Pelicans. Tune in tonight as they take on the Sacramento Kings at 7 p.m., and then they'll play them again, a little back-to-back action tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Pelicans coverage is brought to you locally by Industry Makes, and 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and Citizens Bank and Trust want to help cover your car payments. It's a $5,000 grand prize with a bonus chance to win free car washes from Benny's Car Wash for 6 months. We're also letting you earn extra entries by subscribing to our LouisianaSports.net daily newsletter. To sign up, visit 1045ESPN.com.
So LSU Baseball just put out a tweet. It's on LSU Baseball letterhead. It says, to whom it may concern, please excuse blank from work, school, general activities on Friday, February 14th for our 2 o'clock game against Purdue Fort Wayne. They are required to be at Alec Box Stadium, Skip Berkman Field. Don't forget to join us for opening day Fan Fest from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. This day should really be a holiday, but until that happens, we apologize for the inconvenience. Go Tigers. It's signed by Jay Johnson. Do we feel like Jay wrote that one?
No.
We don't? I think he's more concerned with the lineup card, maybe figuring out some bullpen moves to make, not typing up memos to supposed bosses.
Well, I really am really shocked that he would reveal the starting rotation for this weekend when there's such a strategic advantage he would gain from not giving away the starting lineup against a really tall task of playing against the feared Purdue Fort Wayne team.
Do you know what their mascot is?
The Mastodons.
Yes,
we talked. Right. We said it yesterday. You don't remember? Because I said you asked me and I didn't know.
That's right.
And then you said the Mastodons. And
well,
it's like an elephant. It
is with tusks.
Yes.
Sweet. Let's play Take It or Leave It.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
Just take it.
All right, a couple of Super Bowl media take it or leave it's here, but of course they have nothing to do with football. Patrick Mahomes said at Super Bowl Media Day that he'll forever play golf as a 7 handicap because, quote, I don't put my good scores in. Take it or leave it.
Oh. Well, they're not going to let him at Pebble Beach if that's the case.
No.
They're not going to let him play in that thing. There's like prize money on hand, I think.
So you're going to leave it?
Yeah, I'm going to leave that.
Leave it alone.
You can't be not putting your good scores in and
that's
screwing
called
up your
sandbagging.
handicap. That is. So Mahomes, he's out on money games for sure.
Yeah. Next one here. Saquon Barkley said if he doesn't break 80 this season, referring to golf, he will be giving it up. You versus Saquon for one paycheck. You win his or he wins yours. I don't understand the dynamic here. I mean, why would you not do that?
Well, of course I'm going to do that.
Yes.
Because, I don't want to lose a paycheck. Like, if I missed one paycheck, we would still figure it out. But if I got one of his paychecks,
here's the real.
That would be a good thing.
To make it actually interesting, it should be that you either win his salary for a year or you lose your salary for a year.
Oh, man.
That would be the tough one.
That would be bad. There'd be a lot of rice being eaten at the Palmer house.
Yeah.
A lot of water being consumed. I'm not going to play that one.
I didn't think
We're not going
so.
to give up the salary for 12 months, but I would like to play for one of his game checks.
That would be
What's
nice.
his salary? Do we know? I'm going to have to look that up.
I'm not sure exactly, but he is one of the higher paid running backs, I believe.
I mean, I'm sure he is. We got another one. I'm going to look up his I'm going to see if I can come up with a reasonable.
Next one. Reports are circulating that former Patriots defensive coordinator and Lions head coach Matt Patricia will be the next defensive coordinator at Ohio State. Take it or leave it.
The celebrity program. You got Chip Kelly there. Bales, and you got
Urban Meyer a few years ago.
Yeah, so, I'll take it. Whatever. I'm sure he's a pretty good defensive coordinator. He's always got the pencil behind his ear.
Yeah.
Didn't work out as a head coach. But, yeah, I think that's probably a pretty good hire. Did you know that Matt Patricia's really short?
I didn't know that. I've always known he's pretty rotund, but I didn't know he was that short.
But apparently he's very, very short.
Okay, interesting.
Is this right on Saquon? This looks like a fairly small, a smaller salary than I would have thought. It looks like his total earnings. Okay, a lot of signing bonus. Okay, it makes a little bit more sense now. But it was 3 years, $37 million.
Yeah, it's the signing bonus.
Yeah, and the signing bonus jumped on top. So, but if it's just 3 years, $37 million, you're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of like, you know, $11 million, $12 million, $11.5 million a year. So do that times 65% of those or so. I can't do it fast enough. Doesn't matter. I would take one of his game checks.
We got one more here. I just saw this. I don't know if you saw this a couple of hours ago. The MLB actually tweeted this out. The Netflix is going to be, as they've done already with a few different sports, they're now getting into the MLB.
Okay.
They will have a series called The Clubhouse, A Year with the Red Sox, which will be premiering in April. So
Can they retroactively do the 2004 Red Sox? I'd rather watch that.
That would be interesting. I don't know this one's going to be as interesting.
I don't know. I'm going to take it. I mean, it's content. I probably won't watch it, but I would, if it was on, I might pay attention to a little bit of it. As is the case with all these shows, the question really becomes, like, how much access do we have and what are we allowed to see? It appears that maybe the greatest access in NFL history was given to this Giants offseason thing where they very plainly threw up all over themselves, let Saquon walk out the door, had the 8-year-old say that they should draft Jaden Daniels, and then they couldn't do that based on where their pick was. It was a horrible PR thing for the Giants, but I think it was quality entertainment for everybody that was out there watching it. So the question is, like, how much are we going to get to see of the Red Sox? Because when you think about how long a Major League season is, how much those guys are together between the flights at the ballpark all day long, late nights, like, there's interesting stuff. Guys are going on rehab assignments to AAA ballparks, all that kind of stuff. Like, there are compelling storylines, but can they get access to them? Really becomes the question. I'm interested to an extent. We'll see. I may not watch it, but that's all right. That's it for a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. If you missed any of it, catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google. Wherever you find your sound, you can always find us. I appreciate our guests for jumping aboard today. Had Koki Riley talking some baseball. Had Matthew Brune talking a little bit of hoops. It was a What If Wednesday. I did my LSU baseball starting lineup. You can go catch all that wherever you find your sound. Matt's coming up from Houston for AFR. He'll drive you home there. I'm back tomorrow, same time, same place. The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.